Hi everyone, today's episode is going to be about Stan Lee and his place in the MCU. So if you're into that sort of thing, stick around because here we go. And just a heads up, I have a second part to my original Endgame theory video coming very soon, so stay tuned for that. But first, let's talk about Stan Lee, because I think the Endgame cameo might be a little bit more than just a cameo this time around.
Oh, a sailboat.
Now, he has passed away recently, unfortunately, God bless his soul, but he was sure to shoot a few extra scenes before he left us, bound for a better place. Now, I know he began making cameos on a whim, and there was no real reason at the time other than just for the fun of it. But I think the directors found a way to make him a serious part of the MCU, part of the storyline, and not just for the cameos. Now let's have a look at the cameo in Guardians Volume 2. The beings in which he is talking to are called Watchers, for those that don't know. Endgame having a time travel theme, it's important to note that the Watchers are capable of time travel themselves, and their job is exactly that, watching.
They're called Watchers. Guess what they do?
Most notable is the timeline of the MCU thus far. Though movies like Captain Marvel and Captain America take place in the past, we only got to watch them as they came out in the very specific order that the directors wanted us to see them in. If we watch each movie in accordance with the timeline, we'd be watching Captain America first, then Captain Marvel, Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk, Thor, and finally the first Avengers film. I'm just accounting for the first phase in this case to make a point. I have watched them in this order before, and it's actually a pretty awesome experience. I definitely recommend it. I can only imagine the perspective of those that have never actually watched them before, like in the future. I know one day I'll sit my future kids down and show them the proper order just to see how they react and their perspective on the MCU that is very different from, ours. Moving forward to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where we see Stan's cameo with the Watchers. He is telling them a story where he was a FedEx delivery guy.
Oh, man. Anyway, before I was so rudely interrupted, at that time, I was a Federal Express man.
Notably, specifically FedEx. Not to be confused when he played a mailman in the Fantastic Four franchise. Before Chris Evans took up his mantle and he was just a flaming torch.
It's clobbering time!
It's catchy, right?
The only time we specifically see a FedEx uniform on Stan Lee is at the end of Civil War.
Are you Tony Stank?
Yes, this is Tony Stank. You're in the right place. Thank you for that. Never dropping that, by the way.
Keep in mind that the package he is delivering is the flip phone used to get a hold of Captain America. Along with it, a note letting Tony know that he was sorry for how everything turned out, and no matter what, Cap will be there if Tony Stark needs him. Just sounds like a Cap thing to do, doesn't it? Seeing that Stark was holding this flip phone when Thanos' henchmen showed up to retrieve the Time Stone, but never actually made the call, we now know that if the phone never existed, Banner couldn't have possibly got a hold of Steve Rogers, and Vision and Scarlet Witch would have been toast. So Stan Lee being sure the phone is delivered may have set in motion the events of Infinity War, and in extension Endgame itself. Had the phone been lost during delivery, Cap would have never shown up to defend Vision in the first place, never would have suggested going to Wakanda, and the great battle in Infinity War never would have happened, as the children of Thanos would have retrieved the Mind Stone much easier. Stan Lee is telling the Watchers this story of delivering the phone to Tony Stark, but here's the interesting part. According to the timeline in Guardians 2, the delivery of this package hasn't happened yet, because the events of Civil War actually take place after Guardians 2. This means that Stan Lee is not only an informant for the Watchers, and obviously human due to the spacesuit that he's wearing, but the Watchers have actually endowed him with the capability of time travel. Now here's where it gets even cooler, because Stan Lee, as you well know, doesn't just show up in this franchise, but the X-Men universe as well. Always watching from the sidelines, pretending to blend in as best as possible. Remember that the Watchers are also capable of disguising themselves. What if we, the fans, are the only ones capable of recognizing Stan Lee? Our heroes keep coming across Stan Lee over and over again, yet nobody recognizes him? Nobody stops and says, hey, why do I keep seeing this guy over and over again everywhere I go? What if in Iron Man 1, Stan actually takes on the persona of Hugh Hefner?
Look great, Hef.
and we the fans are the only ones that can see Stan for who he actually is. A human endowed with the powers of a Watcher, capable of time traveling and living in disguise in multiple dimensions. If we the fans are the only ones capable of recognizing him, does that not make us the Watchers? Neat, right? We, as the fans, are watching, are we not? And the characters don't recognize him, but we do.
Where is he? If he's so close, why doesn't he arrive?
He doesn't realize he's already a part of the never-ending story.
But since we're on the topic of altering events with an overall purpose, there's a lingering question from Thor Ragnarok that has gone unanswered for quite some time. A question that might have to do with Stan's overall role in the MCU. If the Watchers are indeed paying attention, making sure the flip phone gets to Tony's hand, what about the Hulk? Remember that the last time we saw the Hulk before Ragnarok was in Stark's Quinjet, and several movies later he just magically showed up on the other side of the universe. Some of us assumed he got sucked into one of Sakar's many portals, which may be true, but let's ask ourselves a serious question. What would have happened if the Hulk chose his side and fought in the Civil War movie? Most of our characters showed restraint against one another, never looking to make a kill shot out of loyalty and friendship.
We're still friends, right?
Depends on how hard you hit me.
But I doubt the Hulk would have distinguished friend from foe for the most part.
You're Banner's friend.
Not Banner's friend, I prefer you.
Banner's friend.
How many of our heroes would have died during the conflict if he was allowed to let loose during Civil War? It sort of looks like someone saw the conflict coming and took the Green Machine as far away from the fight as possible. Someone with the ability to see into the future and make sure that the Hulk doesn't do the type of damage that I believe he would actually inflict. Who or whatever pulled the Hulk from the conflict was nice enough to put him somewhere where he would feel comfortable. But on that Quinjet was the first time we witnessed the Hulk not return to Bruce Banner. This was realistically the beginning of the personality conflict and the fight over Banner's vessel. So what or whoever transported him to Sakaar clearly did something to his psyche to keep him hulked out for the years to come. Of course, on Sakaar, it's no surprise to see Stan Lee already there when Thor arrives. You know, to keep an eye on everything, apparently.
Now don't you move. My hands aren't as steady as they used to be.
By Odin's beard, you shall not cut my hair, lest you feel the wrath of the mighty Thor. Please, kind sir, do not cut my hair.
So could it be the Watchers themselves that actually sent Hulk away from the Earth and to Sakaar, out of the, harm's way of the rest of the Avengers? An all-seeing being like a Watcher would have been able to foresee the events coming and know that these Avengers are going to be needed in the coming conflict against Thanos. Either way, I would love to see one of our characters actually point, some of this stuff out, especially when it comes to Stan Lee. I don't think Captain Marvel was, the best way to send him off, in my opinion.
Trust me, believer. Trust me.
Possibly a Nova Corps or Asgardian tradition would be ideal, in my opinion. I think I could speak for every Marvel fan when I say thank you, Stan, for everything you've done for us. You will be missed, my friend. So what do you guys think? I want to hear your input. I want to hear your comments. Let me know what you think about this theory. Once again, I have a part 2 from my original Endgame theory video coming out soon, so please stay tuned for that. So bitch slap that notification bell and you'll get notified right away. That's what it's for. Notifications, right? Notified. If you haven't seen it yet, just wait a few seconds till the end screen and it's going to be right there in front of you, so just give it a click and you can get caught up for the sequel that's coming. Don't forget to pick up a copy of my book. You can find the website right there, and you can find the link to buy it in the description if you're interested. If not, whatever, who cares? On a final note, thank you so much for all your support, guys, and keep them coming, keep subbing, keep sharing. That'd be wonderful. Really help the channel out. That'd be wonderful. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the flip side.